And what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Barry Cunningham Show. This one is jam-packed, so I may go a little bit faster than normal, but we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that's going on in the market right now. Something that Biden did in extending foreclosures. It doesn't seem like this foreclosure stuff is going to ever end.
Your source for profit. Hear what you need to know to succeed in today's real estate market.
So, I want you to imagine something. Your microphone's on, yeah. I want you to imagine something. I want you to imagine that you're watching a basketball game. You're watching a football game. You're watching a baseball game. And the announcers are telling you that this is just the best game you've ever seen. Best game ever. Never seen a game like it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime game. And that you can't imagine it being any better. Then you realize what the announcer is saying doesn't match what you're seeing on the court or the field. What you're seeing on the court is what's actually happening. If you're actually watching, you're not on radio, you're actually watching it, and you hear the announcer say this is the best performance you've ever seen. But as you're watching the game, you're like, this just doesn't make a lot of sense. You're looking at the data. You're looking at the shots. You see, the guys who are announcing are telling you only about the shots that the team made. They're only telling you about the touchdowns that were scored. They're ignoring fumbles. They're ignoring interceptions. They're ignoring shots that are missed so that everything appears perfect. That's what realtors are doing today. You like that analogy? It's true. Every realtor you'll talk to will say this is one of the best markets you've ever seen. Things are, quote, flying off the shelves, as the guy from Zillow said. Hot, hot, hot. But it just seems like they're ignoring all of the other information. If LeBron played tonight and he went 10 for 20, he only made 10 out of his 20 shots, that's a 50% performance, and the announcers say that LeBron was hotter than a candle, he couldn't be stopped, and they forgot to tell you that he was 10 for 20 and they just said he was 10 for 10, would you feel like you've been lied to? Would you feel like you've been misled completely? Well, that's what's happening in the housing market. Everybody is saying that this is the greatest market they've seen in probably 10 years. But nobody, and I understand realtors don't have any skin in the game. Now, and again, I have to always put the underscore asterisk. My wife is a realtor, so I am not saying all realtors are bad. Why am I starting this show with this? Because a realtor told us today, an offer we put on a property that's a dog, that we weren't entitled to make $100,000 on the turn. That was actually said to me. Guys, your offer, I'm looking at it here, but we want more. Why? Because you guys, it's unreasonable for you to make $100,000. He actually said that. His exact words. And I'm like, what part of your negotiation class told you to question what someone else who's taken all of the risk, who's taking every penny of the risk, you're telling them what they can't earn? And by the way, you're only looking at the gross. You're not looking at the ROI. You're not seeing what the actual return is, which is only about 25% of funds invested. You just think that because there's $100,000 of potential profit, and then you're saying that someone shouldn't be able to make that kind of money. I'm sorry, I don't work for 3%. So I understand maybe it may blow your mind, but there's people out here who actually make $100,000 on a deal. What if you made $100,000 on a deal that cost you $1 million to get into? That's only a 10% return. You see, it's the return that people aren't looking at. In addition to all the other stuff that's going on in the housing market. I mean, there's just so much. So we're going to start today with something that happened, I guess it was a couple days ago, maybe yesterday. And I want you to really think about what's going on and understand if you're only seeing the good stuff on the field, if you're only seeing Tom Brady throw for touchdowns, but you're not seeing him fumble, get sacked, throw an interception. If you're only seeing LeBron score, you're not seeing turnovers. You're not seeing losses. You're only seeing wins. That's what people are telling you. But it's not true. And I'm not being a naysayer. I'm telling the truth. Anybody who wants to do this research can see what the truth is and how it's being hidden from you. God forbid, Facebook just took down the Australian newspaper and said that the government can't put out news. You understand that it's incumbent upon you to begin looking at this stuff. Otherwise, hey, you get what you get. When the music stops and you don't have a chair, you're not going to have anyone to blame but yourself. I don't want to hear it personally. I seriously don't want to hear it when people start complaining because they don't know what happened, when all the information is right in front of you. Right in front of you. So let's look at some of that information right now. That's probably going to cause people a bit of heartache. So, boom, right off the bat here, we have an article that was posted in the Business Insider. And as you can see here, Biden helps more than 10 million homeowners by extending the foreclosure moratorium through June. Did you know that? Did you know now that even more foreclosures are going to begin building up? Even more foreclosures are just going to be kept in abeyance, held back, not hitting the market. No one's talking about that. We're walking around seriously on eggshells here on a thinly frozen lake. Shouldn't say that with everybody in Texas freezing. But a thinly frozen lake that nobody's understanding what's beneath the surface. They're not looking. So first thing off the bat, you look here and it says 10 million homeowners. Big number. I hadn't heard that. 10 million homeowners by extending the foreclosure moratorium through June. And it goes through here. It says the White House announced the extension of the moratorium on home foreclosures through June 30th. The extension will help 10 million Americans who fell behind on mortgage payments during the COVID-19 crisis. Now, here's where it begins to get interesting, and you may not understand this. It says Biden called on Congress to pass a stimulus to give more relief to renters and homeowners. So this is where it starts getting really freaky. That bill that he wants to pass, he wants Congress to go ahead and pass, if they pass it, they're going to basically stall everything in the housing market until the end of September. 7 months from now. Can you imagine how many foreclosures are going to be sitting in the back waiting to hit the market come September? Can you imagine people just not having to worry about things? I know it sounds good, but all of these mortgages, oh man, that's The Big Short all over again. If you're a shorting person, which now we all as investors and people involved in real estate have to start looking at, we are going to be shorting the market. We are going to be betting against the housing market because it is artificially being driven right now. So let's continue with this story. And as you go through here and you start reading things, it tells you about the ban and how it's going to expire and other relief that they're trying. $2 trillion. It's just everything they need to do this thing. But maybe it's in this article. Yeah, it's this one. So here's from the Florida Department of Realtors, the Florida Realtors Board. Eviction ban, which we're going to talk about in the next segment, that hasn't changed yet. We're still looking at March 31st for the evictions. Count on it. They're going to extend that too. But again, this is a number. Census Bureau's figure that almost 12% of homeowners with mortgages were late on their payments. 12%. 12%. That's, 1 out of every 10 people, 1 out of every 11 people. 12% are late on their mortgages. Just walk through your neighborhood and find 10 houses and go, ooh, one, and there's another one who are late on their mortgages. That's as of right now. Imagine that come September, June as well. And, it just goes on. Again, 10 million homeowners are behind on their mortgage payments. 10 million. You don't need to be a math scientist to understand what that means and how that's affecting the housing market and how many people are just got blinders on and have no idea. Everything's great. The market's fantastic. We're all making money. We have nothing to worry about. That's what people are saying right now. I mean, this is a very short blurb. Look, they just spent 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs in here saying, hey, listen, it's extended again. Not a whole lot we can do about it. 10 million people being pushed back. Delinquency rate of 12%. But we're not going to focus on that. We're only going to focus on the information we want you to hear. We're only going to focus on information that makes everything look rosy. Barry's a bad guy who starts talking about mortgage delinquencies and foreclosures. Well, that's because they're out there. Again, the idea that I want to do, I want to help good people in bad situations. Late in introducing myself, my name is Barry Cunningham. I'm a real estate investor and burgeoning developer here in South Florida. Been involved in this for about 25 years, involved in over 1,000 sides of transactions. So I've got the experience and I know what's going on in this market. And I know a lot of people are really, really hurting. But is this the way out? Just to keep pushing back, hoping forbearances happen, hoping that people can catch up, understanding that this is just the tip of the iceberg, not even understanding the amount of people who are coming to an abrupt halt. Do you know what the numbers are on extended delinquencies, meaning over 120 days, 90 to 120 days? That's not getting any better either. So as we're opening up, remember, there's still a lot of jobs that haven't come back. In fact, today, the unemployment numbers spiked again. Remember in my video, and you should go look for it, the Big Short is happening again. And one of those indicators was unemployment and wage stagnation. We're there. We're there. You may just not know about it. No one's probably telling you. Call any realtor you want. I challenge you. Challenge you. Call any realtor. Call them. And say, hey, how's the market? What's the market look like? And I bet you they tell you, hey, everything's great. Don't worry about it.
Your source for profit. Hear what you need to know to succeed in today's real estate market.
So as you saw in this article where it's talking about, the eviction ban itself has been unchanged, meaning they haven't done anything to change the eviction moratorium. They've kept the eviction moratorium at March 31st. But right now, today, count on it. That's going to change as well. And it's not for the good. There are going to be a ton of people on the landlord side now who are going to get crushed. Why am I the only person talking about this? I mean, maybe because I like to make money, but on the other side, don't you want the truth? Don't you wish people brought you the truth so you understood what was coming? I have to believe you do, because if you're watching this, especially if you're here in South Florida, you want the hurricane warnings, don't you? You don't want to be sitting in your house with a Cat 5 right off the coast and not even know about it. You listen to that, don't you? How about the emergency broadcast? We got one a couple of days ago that there was a tornado warning here in South Florida. Beep, beep, beep. Tornado warning. Let us know. Hey, there's danger coming up. Take shelter. Understand, things aren't as they seem. It might look nice and sunny, but guess what? There's a tornado coming. Man, when a hurricane comes, you guys know Channel 7 and everybody else goes to 24/7 hurricane coverage. It's just Jim Cantori from the Weather Channel. Everybody is talking about the hurricane. It may still be hundreds of miles offshore, but they start talking about it a week in advance. And you want that. I want that. I want to get to Publix. I want to fill up on gas. I want to do all kinds of things and get ready for the hurricane. Why is nobody getting ready for this hurricane? Why is nobody getting ready for the Cat 5 real estate hurricane? And it's a Cat 5. Let me show you this thing. All right, so I'm just going to be quiet for a second. I'm going to be quiet and just let you look at that headline. 48,000 evictions. 48,000 evictions were filed in Florida during the 2020 pandemic months. 48,000. Raise your hand if you heard that number before today. I can't raise my hand either. I can't believe there are 48,000 evictions that are just sitting there waiting to happen. So you got 1 out of every 12 people in foreclosure. 48,000 people and counting in evictions. Yet everyone tells you the real estate market is great. Nothing for you to worry about. Everything is fine. You like being lied to? I don't. I don't like being lied to. That's why I dig and I start looking for information. And I don't mean to come across as a Chicken Little. I'm not saying the sky is falling in, but it's getting low and it's getting real dark and nobody's talking about it. So, Barry, understand that, there's going to be an eviction moratorium. We're going to push this off. And, these landlords, they'll be okay. Nah. Here's one for you. Okay. Look at this story. Came out yesterday. There's a greater chance landlords will now default on their mortgages. The people who aren't collecting any rent. The mom and pops that maybe own a couple houses, a couple duplexes, and they're not getting any rent. Look at the numbers in this story. We've got 4 counties in Florida. Four counties in Florida that made the top 25 places at risk of landlord default. Forget the other foreclosures. Forget the evictions. Now the landlords are like, what in the hell are we supposed to do? Well, you're going to have to sell your property. You better sell because landlords don't have any protections. I understand that. All these eviction moratoriums and these foreclosure forbearances are usually for primary residences. Landlords are absolutely, the word. They're just completely screwed. I mean, at the same time, that's kind of, an opportunity for some of us. I told you Section 8 rentals were going to be the key in the future. I told you guaranteed money from the government is what you need to be looking at. Now you've got a lead list miles long. Landlords. Let's go through this article. So in these top 4 counties, Collier, Lee, Polk, and Marion, top 4 in Florida, actually in the country, for landlord defaults. So here's what you start looking in here. I'm going to have to blow this up because I want you guys to really see this. Okay. 48% are above average risk. In the 100 largest U.S. counties, the risk score is 43 with 53% at above average risk of default. That's huge. Do your math. 53% at above average risk, 48% at above average risk here. And it goes on and it talks about the rankings and everything else and how things are going. But it says the job losses in a handful of severely impacted industries due to COVID have disproportionately affected renters. No crap. We know that. We see that here. There are 48,000 people in some way, shape, or form of foreclosure. So down here, it's talking about there's a misperception that most landlords are corporations or institutional. The fact is that almost 90% of single-family rental landlords are smaller investors who own less than 10 properties. So these people are toast. Now they're not paying their mortgage because they're not collecting their rent. It's taken a while for it to catch up, but now the landlords are absolutely toast. 90% of landlords own less than 10 units and most of the single family rentals in the country. And now these people, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? And, it's funny when you read, I don't mean funny in a ha-ha moment, but while it's completely appropriate that the government has taken steps to protect tenants from eviction during the global pandemic, it's also completely unrealistic to assume that landlords can bear 100% of the financial burden of the missed payments. That is so true. I've seen stuff on Twitter where people are like, well, you should have had reserves, should have been ready. What are you talking about? Were the people in New Orleans ready for Katrina? Seemed like we watched a lot of people get bailed off the rooftops. Hey, man, they saw the hurricane coming. Why didn't they get out? Every year when we see hurricanes, somebody gets hurt. So to say that a landlord should have known it was coming, nobody knew this COVID stuff was happening. And it just destroyed us. But yet at the same time, nobody's talking about it. So now you've seen two indicators. You've seen foreclosures being put off, not talked about. You don't know how many people in a specific city are in foreclosure. You know how many, it's, about 12%, as they said. Now there's 48,000 people in some stage of eviction that may get pushed to September 30th as well. Now you know that landlords are in deep crap. So what's the prognosis? What's on the horizon that maybe we should all be taking a look at? What's going to tell us how things are going to go in the future? I'm going to share that with you when we get back.
Your source for profit. Hear what you need to know to succeed in today's real estate market.
So you have to wonder, I talk a lot about having a crystal ball. And when I'm talking about having a crystal ball, it's being able to, I kind of joke about it, but I kind of say you need to have a crystal ball. And that crystal ball is data. So now I've shown you a couple data points. I've shown you that foreclosures are being hidden. You don't see it. I don't know why they're hiding them. I've shown you, again, this is your crystal ball. It's your crystal ball moment. I've also shown you that we're seeing people be unemployed, not be able to pay their bills, 48,000 people in some stage of eviction, going to grow, no doubt. I've shown you that now landlords are feeling the brunt of this as well. So what's the future hold for the real estate market? This is as of today. What do we see moving forward? Well, I'm going to tell you. So here's another article. Again, if you had to dig and find it, it's out there. South Florida mortgage delinquency rates are on the rise. But wait a minute. I thought everything was fine. I thought everything was just going great in the real estate market. What do you mean? Yeah, well, they're not telling you everything. What do you know? So this was February 10th, just a little over a week ago. And this is kind of scary. When you look in here and they're talking about mortgage delinquencies fell nationally to pre-pandemic levels. However, nationally, 5.9% of all mortgages were at least 30% delinquent in November. That figure represents a 2-year overall increase from November of 2019, when the overall delinquency was 3.9. The delinquency rate has fallen since spiking in April of 2020. That sounds great. Barry, what's the problem? Every state registered a year-over-year increase in November, and nearly every major U.S. city saw delinquencies rise. Every. Not some. Every. While unemployment numbers fell, blah, blah, yada, yada, and it comes here and it's talking about these things, and it goes through, and then you get down to the last paragraph, which I want to bring to your attention. And, the big asterisk. However, in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach metropolitan area, basically all of South Florida, 10%, which we kind of knew from the math, of all mortgages were at least 30 days delinquent. That's up 5% from November of 2019. The serious delinquency, that means, 90, 120 days, was 7.3%. A year-over-year increase from 1.9, while the foreclosure rate was down. It's down because nobody's being foreclosed on. So what do we have here? Now we have the South Florida market having at least a 10% mortgage delinquency rate as South Florida mortgages delinquencies are rising. That's just huge. As a real estate investor, as a realtor, are you telling your clients this? Are you letting them know? Are you letting them know, hey, listen, we got a serious problem here. Houston, we got a problem. Well, no, because most realtors out there, as we know, are basically telling their clients that everything is going to be fine. I hear it every time I pick up a phone and call a realtor. I'm like, hey, listen, don't call my offer a lowball offer. It's not a lowball offer. It's an offer based upon data, because I can see all the foreclosures in the neighborhood that eventually are going to explode. Well, there's buyers coming in from New York and New Jersey and Connecticut and Massachusetts. They're going to keep us afloat for a while. Really? Okay. Well, then tell me why this is happening. Tell me why yesterday CNBC reported that mortgage demand falls further, meaning it's been falling, as rates rise at the fastest pace in months. Let me read that to you again. A lot to capture there. Mortgage demand falls further as rates rise at the fastest pace in months. From the Big Short movie, if you remember what the guy in the Big Short movie said, unemployment was a big, big problem. Interest rates going up, big problem. Put all this stuff together and you've got a market ready to just plummet. Don't take my word for it. I'm showing you this information. If interest rates are, as this thing, rising at the fastest pace in months, and mortgage demand is falling, well, you don't need to be a genius here. That's like economics 101. Demand falls, and then what happens? So if people are buying less properties, i.e. taking out less mortgages, and you've got all these evictions happening, and you've got landlords now defaulting, and 10 to 12% of people are in foreclosure, you've got the Cat 5 sitting off the coast. Not my data. I'm not making it up. This is something any one of you can look up. You can go through all this information. I can show it to you everywhere. And we're not talking little bits of decline. Mortgage application volume fell 5.1%. 5.1%. Imagine losing 5% of your income in a week. The volume fell 5.1% further from its previous weak fall. All right, so to recap, we've got Biden extending foreclosure processing until at least June 30th, possibly September 30th. We've got the eviction moratorium right now in place through March 31st, which is probably going to go to September 31st if they pass this stimulus package. We've got landlords beginning to default on the mortgages that the renters are no longer paying. We've got unemployment rising. We've got some of the worst counties in Florida for mortgage defaults. We see South Florida specifically, from Miami all the way up to Palm Beach, 10% mortgage delinquency. And now we see what has been feeding the market, buyers from other areas, mortgage demand falling rapidly as rates rise. I'm not a meteorologist, but I would say if I was looking at this and comparing it to a hurricane, we're at Cat 4 stage right now, and it's only looking worse. There's a lot of warm water out there. Oh my God, think about it. If we get hit with storms like Texas and some of these people have been hit, there's nothing right now that you can point to and say the market is going to get better. I wish it did. I wish it did say that. But there's not a single indicator. Not one. I challenge you. Leave me a comment. I challenge you right now. Show me a single positive forecast indicator that says, hey, look, this is going to be really good. You can't. You can't do that when 2 out of every 10 people are in foreclosure, 48,000 evictions, landlords about to lose their hats, mortgage demand plummeting, interest rates rising, and the only prescription that's being given by the government, the only prescription, hey, just don't let them pay. Just let them off the hook for a while. Well, what do you mean? Hey, they don't need to pay. We'll figure it out. June, September. Don't worry about it. It's inflated, it's insane, and it's going to impact many of us. This is like Depression, Great Recession level stuff happening, and everybody's ignoring it. Everybody thinks it's fine. Everybody on Twitter thinks the orange man bad is gone. Everything's just hunky-dory right now. Wake up, people. There's a Cat 4 turning into a Cat 5, churning off the coast of South Florida, and nobody is talking about it. It's like we don't have radar. It's like the old days, and people probably had no idea. Oh, it looks like a little windy out here. Wonder if it's going to rain. Not knowing hours later that a 150-mile-an-hour Cat 4 or 5 came ashore and wiped people out. You don't have to be that way. You can see what's happening if you choose to. That's the key. If you choose to spend the time looking at this information so you have a game plan moving forward. And if you have a game plan moving forward, please feel free to give me a call. I'd love to partner with you, because besides all of this doom and gloom, which is true, there is tremendous opportunity in shorting the market. Tremendous opportunity in shorting the market. As you build a portfolio, as you build funds to be able to take down some of these properties, that's where we're going to make some money. It doesn't mean to sound like a vulture, but these people need help. They need some place to live. And on the flip side of things is Section 8. If you haven't delved into this stimulus bill, you won't believe how much money is going to be spent on landlords who put the government tenants in these properties. Some people don't like Section 8. They think it's bad. They have no idea what's going on. The ground is shifting below the real estate market right now. And the smart investors understand that and are prepared to do something about it. Give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. I'm interested in working with people who want to make some money. I'm interested in people who'd like to partner and take down some deals at a discount so that we can put some of these Section 8 tenants in there and make 10, 12% return on the money. Talk to you guys probably tomorrow. We'll see. If not, have a great weekend. And check out some of the other videos I've been posting. I've posted some videos about mortgage homesteading. I've done a new lawyer series where we're going to bring some lawyers in to be talking about the legal aspects of things. So stay with us, check things out, and give me a call if you want to do a deal.
Your source for profit. Hear what you need to know to succeed in today's real estate market.